Brazil are arguably the most iconic World Cup team in football history. The bright yellow shirt, the 5 stars on the badge, and the Yoga Bonito. But in recent tournaments, it just hasn't worked. Time and time again, Brazil have crashed out far too early. This summer, Carlo Ancelotti will be hoping for a change. So first things first, how will Ancelotti look to set up at his first international tournament? Well, if you look on the screen, you can see the team, and we will quickly go through it, because there are a lot of talented players here, but also some controversy with this starting 11. Starting off in goal with Alisson, of course, an incredibly experienced goalkeeper and a top-level player. He's had a bit of an injury-hit season for Liverpool this campaign, but if he is fit, he will start for Brazil. In the defence are the first question marks, particularly at fullback. On the left-hand side, the veteran Alexandro will probably be Brazil's starting fullback for this tournament. He's probably past his peak years as a player, but still got a lot to offer for this Brazil team. And then on the other side, we've got Wesley, a much younger footballer, probably a lesser-known name, but someone that I think is one to watch at this tournament for Brazil. I think there's a serious player there. And then we look at the two centre-backs, plenty of experience. Both recently played in the Champions League final against each other. Now they will be hoping to form a solid partnership. Gabriel on the left side of the duo, and then Marquinhos on the right. That is experience, that is leadership, and that is quality. So far, Brazil look pretty well set. The midfield also looks strong. Again, lots of quality, lots of experience, and also a Premier League feel to proceedings. Starting off with Casemiro, the most experienced of the two midfielders. Probably you would assume his last international tournament, but he had a fantastic season for Manchester United and proved to be a massive goal threat in his last season at Old Trafford. So he is another that you got to look out for at this tournament, popping up with a few goals. Alongside him will be Bruno Guimaraes, one of my favourite midfielders in world football. I think this is a world-class talent, just waiting to make his name on the biggest stage of all. He's done very well in the Premier League, but playing for Newcastle, he's never really been able to announce himself in the Champions League and on the biggest international stage. This is his chance. He's a world-class midfielder. It's time for him to prove it. In front of him, the controversy starts, the conversations come into play, because Brazil have so many top players that they can choose from here. Now, I have gone for this 4 on the screen because it's very similar to what they used in a recent friendly against France. However, this could change. So we've gone for Martinelli, Cunha, Rafinha, and Vinicius Jr. But just to point out how much this could change, you could see someone like Thiago coming into the fray, who is one of the top scorers in the Premier League this season, pointing to his quality. We've got Enrique, who could come in on the right-hand side of the attack and played last night against Panama, who is another quality player. And Neymar, who has got the call-up, he has got the number 10 shirt, has struggled with fitness problems recently, but is one heck of a player. And it will be him, almost the emotional connection to Neymar, that will be required to galvanise this Brazil team. So that will probably be the starting 11, but how will Brazil actually play? Because of course the formation that we see on paper is not necessarily the same as what we see on the pitch. Although in the case of Brazil, it's not actually far off, to be honest. 9 times out of 10, Brazil will look to build from the back with 2 centre-backs, rather than a full-back dropping into a back 3. Instead, both Wesley and Sandro, who have both got a good engine on them and like to get forward, they'll be given the licence to do so. And I think quite often what we'll see is this Brazilian 4 across the pitch like this, with Sandro and Wesley either side of the 2 experienced central midfielders. Now in midfield, what's going to be important for Brazil this summer is making sure that it's not too flat. Brazil need to make sure that they are staggered in the middle of the park to effectively progress the ball. Let's just quickly bring the opposition into the picture here. If Brazil play too flat and too vertically, then it will be easy for the opposition to overturn the ball. So if Brazil, for example, have Guimaraes and Casemiro right alongside each other, there will be moments where a vertical pass is played, but the opposition will easily be able to anticipate that pass. So what Brazil need to do a little bit more is try and stagger these central midfielders to disrupt the opposition. And from here, they should be good. Now, as we move a little bit further forward, I am expecting an extremely fluid Brazil side, which is a very exciting prospect. That's what Brazil should be. I always think different football teams have certain ways that they should play, and for Brazil that should be entertaining, but it should be about individual brilliance of the players, and that will be one of the reasons why Carlo Ancelotti has been brought in for this summer, because what he will allow this team to do is float and move away from their positions, particularly in this front 4, and especially when we see certain starting 11s. For example, if there was a game where Rafinha went to the right wing and we saw, let's say, Martinelli Martinelli on the left, Vinicius up front, which we have seen before, there's lots of players here who will want to float and move away from their starting position to get really close together and combine with each other, particularly over here on the left side. Martinelli sort of initially naturally providing the width, but Guimaraes is a player that likes to get forward, Cunha always drifts over here, and so does Vinicius as well. So this is something to watch out for with Brazil this summer. Lots of players really close together and trying to, like I said, produce Brazilian magic. Expect moments of flair. You're always going to get that with Vinicius. He's always going to try things. Martinelli will be more of the runner down this side of the pitch. He will often look to take defenders away so that Vinicius, Cunha and Guimaraes can really get together as a trio. And these are three players which I think are crucial for Brazil this summer. I think Guimaraes and Cunha especially will be two of the most important players at this tournament if Brazil want to go far. And it's going to be about their combination play down the left. So many good players here that can produce so many individual moments of brilliance. If they click, they will have the ability to beat anyone at this tournament. Now, something that we've seen in a few of these tournament preview videos is the effect of close proximity play on one side, and of course that is the space that it creates on the far side. And again, especially if Rafinha starts on the right, he's very much a player that likes to play as a runner off the ball, so this could be perfect for him. Brazil with Guimaraes and Casemiro now looking to switch to play. That's something to look out for. But as I said earlier, Wesley is one to keep an eye on. He's got a real engine on him, great athleticism, and he is someone that will look to bomb round the right hand side and really hold the width on this side of the pitch. I think he is someone who is a little bit of a surprise shout for Brazil this summer. I will label him as the one to watch from this team. Now, the great thing about this Brazil team is the multi-threat that they will carry into this tournament. So we have just spoken about the small space play. Loads of players close together on the left-hand side, trying to make magical things happen. Guimaraes, Cunha, Vinicius, Martinelli, Rafinha, whoever it might be, players close together, combining tight space work, moments of magic. But the great thing about this Brazil team is that the two midfielders in the middle of the park are going to give Brazil a different way of playing as well. There will be an efficiency about this Brazilian team. It won't always be the flair and the cute stuff and the aesthetics and the stuff which gets clipped up on social media. There will be a ruthless efficiency to this midfield too, because these are two players who do not hang about on the ball. I'm expecting a very direct Brazil side, so not necessarily 95% possession in every game, knocking the ball around the back, but the two midfielders looking to grab the ball, have the most touches for this Brazil team, but actually fire it forward as quickly as possible. And this is where Brazil will be incredibly dangerous, because they've got so many runners in this particular front line. And in Guimaraes and Casemiro, you've got two of the most expansive passers in the game, two players who are fantastic at finding a long ball over the top. And with Martinelli from the left and Rafinha from the right potentially, this could cause a lot of problems. This is why I would like to see Carlo Ancelotti go with this front four, because I think the likes of Cunha and Vinicius could sort of move towards the ball, so they come into these little zones here like this, and as they drop in, I then think you could get the runners from these wide zones. And as I've said already, with these two in central midfield, then pinging the ball over the top, Brazil could be deadly if anyone tries to play a high line. Anytime a team steps up from the back, look for that ball lifted back over the top to the on-rushing forwards. Now, as Brazil progress through this tournament, the way that they want to play may have to change, because when you play the top sides, you have less of the ball. And Carlo Ancelotti typically isn't a manager who really demands an aggressive man-to-man press all over the pitch. Certainly with his successful Real Madrid sides, we saw a team that would often drop off into a mid-block and a low block. So actually in the knockout stages of this tournament, I wouldn't be surprised to see Brazil actually playing quite deep at times in this block, trying to contain the opposition. This block of four is going to be crucial to that. Again, the experience, the leadership, but also the quality, the physicality, they're going to be absolutely key as the spine of this team. And if they are strong, if they do defend well, then Brazil will be a very dangerous team in the transition. And one of the reasons for that is because I've got players that can relieve pressure. We're looking at Guimaraes and we're looking at Matheus Cunha. So when the opposition come forward, they obviously commit players forward, and then they lose the ball. That's when you've got to pounce, that's when you've got to pick the ball up in midfield, but then look after it before the opposition can win it back on the counter press. This is where players like Guimaraes and Cunha, who can take the ball under pressure, will be crucial. Look out for these two on second balls, trying to get the ball down, trying to get a foothold on the game, before then releasing the ball forward. And if they are able to release, then once again you can see the quality. Rafinha is the runner on the right, Martinelli on the left, and Vinicius through the middle. But also that driving power of Cunha in the centre. The other thing to look out for, if we see this Brazilian front four, is Vinicius Jr. and Martinelli sort of crossing over on the left-hand side. So we could see moments where Vinicius sort of drifts towards the left. So I think he'll start up front because he's not the most aggressive player out of possession. I think Ancelotti will leave him quite high. So we'll see moments where he starts central, peels left, and then Martinelli makes a penetrating run through the middle. These transitions in the big games could make for some incredibly entertaining football. So is this the summer that Brazil finally do better at a World Cup and finally win the tournament once again to add a 6th star? I'm not sure. I wouldn't have them as my favourites coming into the tournament. I think there are a few teams that are stronger than them. However, with the togetherness of the squad that I think will be present with Neymar, like I said, really the figure that they've got to try and get behind. Then you've got Carlo Ancelotti, a manager who just finds a way to win matches. And that's what knockout football, international football is all about. It doesn't have to be pretty all the way through. You've got to find a way to win. And Ancelotti is the master, maybe one of the best of all time at doing that. Then you look at the quality of this Brazil squad, the experience, but the flair, the pace, the trickery and the goal scoring. Brazil have a chance this summer. They're not my personal favourites, but I think some of you in the comments will be backing them this summer. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. How good is this Brazil team? Who is going to be their key player? Who is one to watch? And how far can they go this summer? Let me know your thoughts down below. But apart from that, we are now finished for today. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.